our regulars that we've missed, and then I'm sure Trevor's here for the direct control item, so welcome. And I will call this March 25th, 2025, regular council meeting to order at 6 o'clock. And first order of business is the adoption of the agenda. And I don't believe we have any additions tonight. So, motion to adopt the agenda as presented.
I can do that.
Go ahead, Councilor Windsor.
Thank you, Member. I'll move that the agenda for March 26, 2025 regular council meeting be adopted as presented.
All right, call the vote. All in favor? That's carried. Skip item 4, adoption of minutes, the March 10th, 2025 budget meeting minutes. Deputy Mayor?
I move that council adopt the March 10th, 2025 budget meeting minutes as presented.
As presented.
Or is it as information?
Isn't there a motion? No.
Yeah, right.
As presented? Let's do it as presented. Since that's what it says.
Yeah.
Councilor Windsor?
Thank you, Mayor Hunter. On page 5 of the agenda, the motion or resolution 122-25 should probably not be read that the adjourn the March 10th regular council meeting, because that was the budget meeting.
Well, good catch. The rest of us missed it. With that table there. So as amended, I guess.
As amended.
Okay, anything else? Call the vote, all in favor? That's carried. We have item 4.2, March 11th, 2025, regular council meeting minutes. We had one item caught, that was item 4.1, resolution 144.25, or dash 25. As Councilor Windsor just checked on the video that made that motion. So, adopt the February 25th, 2025 regular council meeting minutes as amended.
March
Oh,
11th.
geez, we're in the minutes.
March
I'm
11th.
sorry. It's March 11th, 2025 regular council meeting minutes as amended. Who would move? Councilor Windsor again?
I'll move that we adopt the March 11th, 2025 regular council meeting minutes as amended.
Great. Anything else? Call the vote. All in favor? That's carried. Item 6, our CAO report. And do you have anything to add to this wonderful CAO report?
No, I do not.
Okay. Comments, Deputy Mayor?
Yeah, I was very excited to see the Rose Ridge Area Structure Plan on the report. And also, you guys included the RFQs and RFP tenders, so it was nice to read. Thank you.
Councilor Windsor?
Thank you, Mayor Hunter. On page 14 of the agenda, it talks about the FCS Volunteer Week grant, and indicates that the National Volunteer Week grant was awarded in the amount of $600, and it goes on further to talk about $2,000 from Mountain View County, and it talks about a matching grant from the Mountain View County, and I'm wondering if the town is chipping in $2,000 for that as well.
Amanda?
Can you answer that?
So yes, however, the town does have like volunteer week budget worked into that CSS budget already.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Is that everything?
Yeah.
Councillor Baswick?
Thank you, Mayor. I like it. I'm just wondering if this is off topic, but have we dealt with that fire hydrant that was a problem?
Well, at first, I'm happy to say that isn't off topic, because that's what you would ask during the CAO report, so well done.
Thank you.
I'll ask Craig to speak to that.
Good evening, thank you for the question. Yeah, we're still looking into it. I have gotten up to speed with the situation, and it was sort of a late season thing, understanding that the hydrant needed to be bagged out. It still is useful, it's just that it's leaking, so it's just an extra step before it can be used. So it's still a functioning hydrant that we are going to replace this summer.
Is that everything? Councillor Moore?
Yes, I'd just like to congratulate Bylaw Enforcement Officer Chase Boggs for getting an academic award for obtaining the highest level of academic achievement during the CPO Level 1 Community Peace Officer Induction Program, Class 19 CPOIP. That was longer than I thought it was going to be, but awesome. We have a star.
Okay, thank you. I've been talking to some, I always like planning development reports, and I've been talking to a few developers over the past couple of weeks, and I just wanted to relay the great things that they are conveying about the development officer and planner and the lead, actually the director of the department now, how great it is to work with the planning and development team. So I just wanted to relay that, because it's really always nice to hear that, especially for the administrative team. I appreciate that the residents are back at the top of the organizational chart. I think that's great. I love that structure, and thanks for that being on the public agenda. I just have a question about the asset management position, if we're heading anywhere with that right now.
So at the moment, we had tried to fill that position as it is currently, as the role is currently defined as the capital asset accountant, which includes asset management. But I'm looking into a different way to kind of look at that position and tie it in solely into asset management and GIS. So council can expect that to come back in a little bit here, once I've had a little bit more time to look at what that position would exactly entail for a decision, because it would change not the number of FTEs, but kind of what the impact of that position is going to bring to the town.
Okay. Thank you for that. I wanted to say I was going through the, just as far as our other CPO, Chris, I was going through Rossford School crosswalk area the other morning last week, and stopped at the crosswalk, and it was really impressive, and kids were so excited that Chris was standing on the west side, but as kids came, started to cross, we'd go meet them, give them a high five, and they just had big smiles on their faces walking the rest of the way across the crosswalk with them. So that's a pretty cool program, I think. Well done to Chris as well. And of course, we always appreciate all the development or department updates in the CAO report. So thanks everybody for the great work and great reports. And we're looking forward to seeing those competitive opportunities coming in, and with good bids, and starting our road work and our compensation review and getting an assessment service process. So that's all I have to say too about it. I need a motion to accept the CAO report as information. Thank you, Mayor.
I move the council accept the CAO report as information.
Okay, we'll call the vote. All in favor? Item 7.1, bylaws and policies, the Human 010-25 Boulons policy from the Human 004 personnel policy. And Amanda, do you have anything to add to this that you'd like to speak to?
Thank you. I'll just do a brief overview. So this is a new policy that's coming forward because we are proposing a change to what's been done in the past. And just to clarify it, hopefully for all parties, our staff members and also council, and just allocating the amount of the Boot Alliance. It is before you because it does have a budget implication. So that is why why the policy is before you to approve.
All right, thank you for that. We can have the motion and then we'll have comments. Councilor Moore?
I'm not ready to make the motion, but I have a question about the motion.
Okay.
Since you said it's before us because it's part of the budget, and we're approving the amount of the budget, I'm wondering whether it should be the budget that we're approving maybe rather than the policy, since that's an administrative policy under human resources. I'm not sure. I guess the question is, should we be approving the policy or just approving the budget amount?
I think Amanda just answered. I mean, it's in the document. I think it's a great practice that council do changes to the policy. And going forward, I think, Amanda, I think you mentioned, and you can certainly respond to this, how you'll manage the policy as it rolls out, but you felt that this one was needed to get done quickly.
And could I?
Yeah, please.
And my interpretation of our policy what is it called, Jocelyn? That sets governance versus admin?
Policies and procedures policy.
Okay, so we have a policies and procedures policy that defines the difference between governance policies and administrative policies. And really the difference is if something's procedural in nature, it is an administrative policy, and otherwise it's a governance policy. And that's why, so this is not procedural. Procedural would be how somebody was to get paid, so that would be things like the expense claim form that they have to submit to get their $200. This is just setting up the guiding principles of the Boot Allowance. And so that's my interpretation of the policy, and that is why I have it here for your approval.
So I think I'll have the motion before we have any more questions, because it's certainly be. Go ahead, Councilor Windsor. Thanks for that, Amanda.
Thank you, Mayor Hunter. I'll move that council approve the Human 010-25 Boot Allowance policy as presented.
Do you have any comments to that? No. Questions? Deputy Mayor?
Yeah, I'm actually kind of surprised this is before us. In our line of work, this is always done, especially for people that are working in parks and recreation. So just because I'm surprised doesn't mean I think it's a good policy to have, and a good safety requirement that they follow. So I like this.
Anything else, Councilor Moore?
Just the motion that's in the background there that says in January 2024, moved by Deputy Mayor Engel, that administration update council on any changes or updates to Human 004 personnel policy as they are created. And I'm happy to get the update. I'm happy with the Boot Allowance, and I think it should be done. But we've got an update, and I'm uncomfortable with the approving and change to human. I like a human resources policy. So I will be voting against it.
Okay, Councillor Bezic?
Excuse me, thank you, Mayor. The price is fair. I think it's a good safety thing. Why is the price fair? Because I went to get a pair of boots resold and they were $150 just to be sold with them. So imagine, very good. I can buy the whole boot for less, more, well, anyway. So I'm with this.
Thank you. So a motion to, I appreciate, Amanda, your responses to and your clarity on, what was that policy, Jocelyn? It's kind of a funny name.
Policy and procedure policy.
Yeah, so that's why it's, so the policy, I appreciate your take on that, your observations and having this here in front of council. So no more further comments. I will call the vote on the motion to approve the vote policies presented. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. We have item 8, business. And the moment we have all been waiting for, the approval of the 2025 operating budget. And so I believe we should have the motion. Councilor Moore?
I move that council approve the 2025 operating budget as presented with total estimated revenues of $13,690,587 and total estimated expenditures of $13,690,587 and with revenue from taxes totaling $5,445,950, representing an increase of 3.93% over the prior year.
Do you have any comments on that?
No.
Councilor Bezic?
Thank you, Mayor. Just educate me on this scenario. So we have a fixed amount of, basically a fixed amount of income coming into the town. And I guess what I'm going to get at is that instead of raising the taxes, whatever amount, why don't we limit the amount of expenditures that, in other words, we don't need to do 12 roads, we can do 2 roads and not tax the people, if that make any sense. In other words, restrict our infrastructure expense to whatever's necessary so that we eliminate the problem of increasing taxes to cover that amount of infrastructure that we're planning. So if we could plan for less, carry some over for the next year, maybe we wouldn't have to raise the taxes. That's pretty simplified, but I don't know if it's even feasible. Just an idea.
And council at our March 10th meeting agreed to this number, and that's why it's forwarded here to this council meeting. So we did agree on that revenue number, that expense number, and that's what all of our budget discussions are for.
Yes, I understand that. That was more of an inquiry as to future. Could you look at that, eliminating the vast infrastructure development in order to, you know what I mean? If you do 4 roads and they're $2 million apiece, why can't we do 1 road and then carry the rest over the next year, unless there's a really devastating problem that we have to do that road, and that would eliminate us charging the citizens the taxes to cover those extra roads that we're doing. I know it's clear as mud, but
Yeah, and I mean, I could have administration answer that, but they would say that that's the council role to decide that what roads are going to be deferred. And certainly we could give the message to administration at the next budget meeting, they throw that out there, or the next budget for 2026, but I'll let Amanda speak to it if she likes at this point, and then Deputy Mayor.
Sure, thank you. So there's, yeah, that's always what council is struggling with, is to determine how much to spend this year and what we can defer. So administration's role is to bring projects to you that we need to do, and we're bringing them to you because we are recommending that they be done. There's nothing that's frivolous or that should be deferred to future years, so I stand behind the budget that's been presented as far as getting that work done in 2025. There's nothing I can think of just off the top of my head that could stand to be deferred. Typically, any maintenance projects, those really are required for the good of our infrastructure, whether it be a building, a road, a playground. And there's reasons that we're bringing those to you. And typically too, like, so this is the operational budget, so that's more day-to-day type things. It will include maintenance activities, but not really infrastructure projects. That was all approved as part of your capital budget. And you don't see most of those projects are not pulling from your annual taxes. They're pulling from reserves and grants. That is what is paying for them. So that's kind of the difference. I guess at some point if you were to defer, if you wanted to use the approach to defer maintenance as long as you could, or capital projects as long as you could limit what you put in your reserves each year. But that's not what administration is recommending at this point.
Okay, I'm certainly not questioning the budget. That's not my thing to do. But you did say some of the effect of the reserves is what is going to pay for these things.
Mm-hmm.
That being the case, why would we raise taxes if we're using reserve dollars? In case unless you want to replenish the reserve, that's the only thing I can think of.
Through the chair. So we are replenishing the reserves each year, and that's your budget transfer to reserves. But again, those capital projects is not what you're deliberating tonight. This is the operating budget. So, yeah, it'd be hard to, I mean, at this point, if you wanted to change the capital budget, you could. However, we have began a lot of those projects already.
Through the chair, I didn't want to filibuster here. I just, for my own personal information, is what this is about, not necessarily questioning the budget.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for your answers, Amanda. Deputy Mayor?
Just to clarify for me, when I read this, it looks like we have an average of minus 2% tax increase, that taxes are going down. In the different categories, there's one that's gone up, but on average, it looks like it's house number 1 is minus 2.3, number 2 is 1.7, 1.5, minus, these are all minuses. So they're minus $31 a year, or $3 a month. So is that because our tax assessments are higher, and we're collecting more from some of the commercial development, but our taxes are actually not going up, they're going down? Am I reading that correctly? Through the chair.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, so on the municipal portion of taxes, based on the current, the budget that's before you, you would see a decrease, and that's due to, yes, there's been an assessment increase across the board for, I would say probably every property in town. But there's also been a significant increase in new assessment, which is offsetting taxes across the board. So you'll see too that in this scenario, this might not be what you approve, but because you can change the split as well. And in this scenario, your residential rate and your non-residential rate would go down compared to last year.
Sure.
So I don't want to lead anyone to believe that their tax bill may not go up. According to this, it won't. However, our school taxes have taken a big jump, and we have no control over what the province charges us for school taxes, and that will have an impact. But what we've done as a council here, we've actually reduced that tax. But the cost of the school taxes is really that's what we're gonna see. And we have no control over that.
Correct. Thanks, Mary. So your residential or taxpayers, you have one tax bill, as you say. So they will see an increase in their bill overall, but the municipal portion will likely be lower depending on if they've had any new assessment or not. Or renovations, that type of thing may impact it. But yeah, overall, they would see a reduction in the municipal portion, an increase in the education property taxes, and maybe a slight increase in the seniors' taxes as well.
Thank you.
Thank you both. Councilor Windsor?
Thank you, Mayor Hunter. I'm going to follow along with Councilor Engel, or Deputy Mayor Engels a little bit in that what the background is showing here is what the proposed or estimated tax is going to be based on the current split, but we haven't decided that yet, and that will be at the next meeting that we'll talk about that and the tax rate. And so essentially I'm in favor of the motion as it reads because it's identifying what the revenue from taxes is required in order to create a balanced budget.
Thank you. And I think I do recall accurately that in the past few years we have sent the tax split to the Finance Planning Committee to sort out and come back with a recommendation, and that has been done for the past couple of years. So to have a subsequent motion on that, I believe. Amanda, do you want to speak to that? Because that will affect you too.
Sure, I would not. I think you could wait because when you get first reading of the tax rate bylaw, then you could refer that to the
Thank you. Maybe that's, I'm just, yeah, ahead of myself. Thank you for that. That makes sense. And I think I just want to thank administration and council for getting this under 4%, which was the task at hand. And so we have a motion, Councilor Moore, to approve the 2025 operating budget as presented. And that is up on the screen with the amounts. So I will call the vote. All in favor? That's carried. Great. Pretty much right on schedule. So now we have item 8.2, BP 25-012, Direct Control District Industrials, Services and Warehouse, and Leanne Baudette, our Development Officer, will do the presentation to Council on this.
Thank you, through the chair. Administration has received an application for a change of use industrial services, warehouse, and retaining wall located at 2873 29th Avenue. The current zoning of this property is DCIND, Direct Control District Industrial, and requires council approval. The applicant is seeking approval for a change of use from vacant land to industrial services, along with the development of a 3,100 square foot warehouse and retaining wall as outlined in the site plan. The proposed warehouse will be located at the south end of the property, and the retaining wall will be located along the perimeter of the north end adjacent to 29th Avenue. The applicant is aware of the existing utility right-of-way along the north and west ends of the property and will ensure the retaining wall does not encroach into the right-of-way. The development would be used for fenced storage yard with warehouse for cold storage and equipment. Primary use would be for equipment maintenance, aggregate storage, and equipment storage. The parking requirements for industrial services warehouse as outlined in section 3-60 of the land use bylaw is 1 stall per 1,076.39 square feet. The gross floor area of the warehouse is 3,100 square feet, which would require a total of 3 parking stalls. The applicant is able to provide 10 parking stalls as outlined in the site plan. Notice of the proposed development was circulated to 5 adjacent landowners with a comment deadline of March 14th. The application was also circulated to our internal departments for their review and comment. Administration did not receive any responses to this circulation. Administration is satisfied that this proposed development aligns with the municipal development plan and the requirements of the land use bylaw. Administration can support the proposed development, as this location would be ideal for this type of business, and it would enhance the area by developing an otherwise vacant lot. Administration recommends that council approves DP 25012 for change of use industrial services, warehouse and retaining wall as outlined in the site sketch, subject to conditions 1 through 9 outlined below. Thank you.
Thank you. Leanne, go ahead, Deputy Mayor.
I just was going to make the motion.
Oh, okay. I have a question, but thank you. That's fine, thank you. And just say 1 through 9, don't go through them. Right? Why? Because I don't want you to go through them.
I move that council approve DP 25-012 for a change of use industrial services warehouse and retaining wall as outlined in the site sketch, subject to conditions 1 through 9 as outlined below.
Where's that motion that you have?
Page 30.
Oh. Okay. It's the same thing, I think.
Yes.
I'm just reading a different one on 31. You just added a few words to make it even better. So thank you for doing that. Okay, do you have any comments or questions on that? Deputy Mayor?
No, I don't. Thank you.
Councilor Moore? Councilor Bazick?
Just love the development. Yep, no questions.
Councilor Windsor?
Thank you, Mayor Hunter. I'm fully in support of this. However, it took me personally a little while to figure out exactly where this was. And Google Maps didn't match particularly well. And so for future purposes, Mayor Hunter, I think that if the planning department were to add a little bit bigger map so we could actually identify where this is, would be really helpful for somebody, a dirt scratcher like me.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, and the area, I mean, all the pictures were there and they're great, but it was, and those, not those ones, but the ones that are black and white, and that must be, what is right there to the right? That's what I was having a hard time seeing on my, like on the right picture, on the right side.
Oh, on the right? Oh, sorry, that's Ultimex.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what, but from the pictures in my paper, the agenda, I couldn't.
So through the chair, can I just mention as well, yes, Google Maps is horrible. I have put in a request because I think they have it as 19th Avenue. So I had put in a request to get that updated as well because, yes, you're correct.
We can just change anything on the maps now too, so you can name whatever you want. If you like. So, okay. I don't have any comments either, and I think it's a great project. So there is a motion that we approve DP 25-02 for the industrial warehouse retaining wall. I'll call the vote. All in favor? That's carried. Okay, we have item 8.3, Committee of the Whole recommendation. And I spoke with our CEO this morning just to identify that a recommendation, I went back and listened to it, and it was more about bringing the item forward to council to set a direction and get approval to move forward with the sale or discussion on the policy and land sale, the direction council would like to take on this high school land. And so that's, I think we'll be just massaging that motion a bit, because the part that we were going to talk to Schmidt's Edge about was just keeping them updated on what was happening there and if it impacted their parking lot that they have created across at the north end of the high school land. So with that too, we need some information. I think we've got this, but so to set a direction on the sale of the land or how we move forward with this land has got some environmental assessment issues with it. So I'm going to start the conversation there, but I think, and then have the motion later, because I think the conversation will direct the motion with all the information we get. So if that makes sense to everybody, because the motion was about the high school land and the direction we wanted to take it. And then the other part was to engage with Schmidt's Edge. That was a different conversation. Go ahead, Councilor Bradley.
Thank you. It isn't the proper method to make the motion and then discuss it.
Well, if we make a motion to move forward with the sale of the land, certainly can do that. We just could amend it. So I just think information that administration has about the environmental assessment might change that motion, and that's okay. We can amend it, or we can rescind or withdraw it or whatever. Deputy Mayor.
Yeah, I don't think we can make a motion to sell land. We have that motion is already there.
Yes.
And we already reserved money for an environmental study on it, I believe. It hasn't been spent yet.
Yes.
So I don't even know why it's here, but when it should be up for sale.
Well, it's here because when can that happen? And any liability if there is an environmental impact. So yes, you're right, we have the motion. Amanda, you wanted to say something? Did you have your hand up, or did Councilor Windsor?
I think council.
Okay.
I did as well.
Thanks for that comment. Did you have your hand up? I'm sorry, just imagine that.
Did I? No, I don't know.
Go ahead, Councilor Windsor.
Thank you, Mayor Hunter. I think that at the last meeting, we received a update with regard to an alternate to doing the environmental assessment that Craig had indicated that might be undertaken, where he would do some stretching on his own and find out what we actually have and where we are with that. And I think that until we have that information back and where we are, maybe it's the direction to move forward with that. I'm not sure what the direction is to be here. With a conversation with the developer I had here in the last couple of days, one of the things he indicated was that it really needed to be, the assessment needed to be done, or some kind of assessment needed to be done prior to the sale, or sold with the risk that there is something contaminated there, and that's going to affect the purchase price. So I think this is maybe goes a little further than just where we seem to be right now.
Yeah, and I think we do have the motion, I get that. Are we going to move forward without the environmental assessment is the question. And are we going to move forward, move it on to the next agenda item, which is 8.4, and have that, and when all the information comes back, I guess we make that decision then based on any information the administration has. So defer it to 8.4, accept this as information and defer it. Deputy Mayor.
Well, I think either way, we've got money set aside for some sort of exploration. If Craig were to go in there and do a little scratching himself and see if they can uncover anything, we would be better informed as to how we want to sell it, or if we even can sell it. We don't know what's under there.
And that's what we're trying to get at. Just have-
But I think, we haven't rescinded the policy to sell it. That doesn't mean we have to sell it until we know what is going on with it. And I think that's our first step, is we have to get a bit of an idea as to what's under there, so that we know if we can move forward selling it, or if Councillor Windsor said, if there's an impact on the sale price, or we have to do a full environmental, that will probably help determine what we're going to do with the land, period. So I think that's the first thing we have to do with it.
Well, I think the motion would be to have the environmental assessment, whether it's scratching or whether it's from an actual company,
Yeah.
come back to council, and the motion's still on the books. And maybe, can I ask you or Craig to weigh in on that, Amanda? I believe that would be the proper process, because we're not gonna, we need to know that about the land and the environmental assessment.
I'll ask Craig to speak to it, and then I'll just weigh in about the motion that's on the books.
Go ahead, Craig.
Okay. Yeah, so I think this one's getting a little confusing, so, because we got the phase 2 budget that was allocated, and then the motion to sell the high school lands. So from my perspective, it's possible to continue to go forward with promoting and selling land through a land agent, and we disclose that we're going to get more information regarding some subsurface conditions. And then we proceed to go get those subsurface conditions sorted out, shared with the realtor in real time, and we'll get a chance to know sort of what we're facing in the ground, if anything, of any consequence. Whether or not that needs to come back to council once we know what's going on, it might be more of an informative kind of thing. It's not going to cost us a bunch of money to get the work done, doing it internally. It's more of a how it would impact the sales price based on what we do know. So if we discover a significant amount of large concrete blocks and boulders and debris and rubble, that's going to have an impact on the sales price, but it doesn't necessarily mean it needs to be environmentally remediated. So it's kind of it would hit differently than if it was contaminated with, let's say, asbestos debris and lead paint. So that would be a different impingement on the conversation, and we might change what we want to do with the land if that is the case. We don't expect that to be the case based on what we do know now, but we do kind of anticipate we're going to run into some construction debris. So it's possible to go to market with a marketing agent still pushing the land right now. As the frost comes out of the ground and we get a better opportunity to get in the dirt, we can go and sort of do sort of strategic holes to figure out if it's going to be significant to a developer. We can document that really well, take pictures, stuff like that, share that with the realtor and anybody who wants to be pursuing the land, so that they know what they're trying to make us an offer on. So I don't know how I've helped here, but I think it would make sense to me to move forward with the sale, knowing that we're going to still learn some more information. And then when that information is available, we bring it back to you and inform you so that we can make better educated decisions.
Thank you, and that's what I was after. Amanda, you wanted to say something, and Councilor Basil?
Sure, thanks. Just about the current motion, it is the 50,000 set aside is specifically for a phase 2 environmental assessment. If we have other costs that are outside of that, I think we need a different motion, unless they can be just, if the current budget is sufficient for that or not, we'll have to determine that, so.
And that will come back to Councilor Basil.
Thank you, Mayor. There's a couple of things. I agree with what Craig is saying, 100%. If we do an environmental study, so we're looking at $50,000, that comes off the price of the property, or added to the price of the property. If the developer goes in and remediates the problem himself and asks for a discount on the property, we're going to lose twice in this thing. So that's why I agree with Craig. It says going for the environmental study, which is quite a cost, we sell the property with the provision that the developer remediate the property, and we're willing to discount it accordingly. I don't want to spend twice the money on this thing. So to me, environmental study, it would be a no-go for me. Because once he gets in there, he'll decide, the developer will decide what he wants to do with it. And we said, hey, it's going to be too much work to remediate this thing, I want $100,000 off. Well, that might even be fair, considering that's what it might end up costing us anyway, if we pay for the environmental study plus the discount for the guy removing stuff. So that's my comment on that.
Okay, Councilor Moore?
So I talked to Brownlee about this particular issue, where we paid $800,000 instead of $1, as we should have, as you saw. Then we were also in the contract promised that it was clean, that there was no environmental rubble contamination on the property. He said that because we actually are just finding that out now, that we bought the property with the understanding it was clean as was promised in the contract, that that is an area in which we should be engaging with Chinook's Edge regarding their responsibility for the contamination that they put on the property despite promising that they wouldn't. So I don't see how that's our responsibility when we have a contract that said it was to be clean. And all I hear now is on top of paying $799,999 too much for it, that we're going to be paying for an environmental assessment and for cleaning up the contamination and then selling it for less. So I don't see why we're not engaging with Chinook's Edge, as the motion indicates, regarding their responsibility for their contamination, despite having a contract that said it wasn't contaminated.
I can answer that, is because that's not the direction the council set in the meeting. The council set the direction to pursue the sale and get the information we need to do that. The whole item with Chinook's Edge is a whole other topic, and that information has not come from administration about any of that that's happened, and I don't know if administration, because if there is information like that, I would trust that you would present it, that we have an agreement that we have, that they're responsible for that cleanup. And I haven't seen that from administration, and so I guess if that is there, we should find it, but if it isn't, that was almost 20 years ago, or more.
17.
So, it's not the topic that we're talking about. The topic we're talking about is the sale of the land, and we already have a directive, and I have that wrote down that, and even at our committee of the whole, we did say that we would pursue engagement with Chinook's Edge, so that could be a motion to pursue engagement with Chinook's Edge on a whole bunch of issues about the land, but it certainly isn't that we're asking them to pay us back. So I don't want to get too overlapping, because we're talking about what Craig's going to do, and then we're going to engage with Chinook's Edge, but can I ask administration, have you ever found any documents that tell us that the land isn't cleaned up, or the land is cleaned up, or And if that's the case, is 20 years later, can someone go and talk to them about that or bring it back up? And I don't know what what the administration has on their desks. Amen?
I don't have anything concrete that says that. And as far as whether we can go after or go request funds for something like that after 20 years, that's something I would have to get legal opinion on as well.
We should start.
What's that?
Probably where we should start then.
Does Craig have anything to add?
So we're looking at sort of when the land transferred title from Chinook's Edge to us, the minister has to give permission to the board to sell land, and there are conditions on the quality of the land and the work that was done on it prior to being able to dispose of sort of Chinook-owned land into another landowner, like it could have been sold to anybody really. They have an obligation to clean up their site. And that's why I just want to make sure that there's a clear delineation between construction debris and what we found in the ground through time. Because when we put the sanitary line in there, we found a bunch of construction debris. No one's really said that it's got asbestos in it. No one said it's got lead in it because it hasn't been looked at. And I think that that's probably not there. And that's why I wanted to be very cautious about how we're sort of framing the language right now. It's not that it's contaminated with anything that is of substance or danger. It's more just an impediment to progress, because rocks and pipes and things like that you don't expect to be there always make you kind of like, oops, because you don't like to find pipes in the ground that you don't know that they're there. So it's more about the efficiency of the installation of utilities that would be required to develop the land into a subdivision, and then the digging of the basements and connecting to the services. So it would be I think we're mostly trying to understand and put into some sort of monetary value is the amount of debris that might be in the ground that would slow a contractor down enough to require some sort of exchange of money for time, and who's responsible for that exchange, that money. So that's sort of what we're trying to sort of isolate right now, and that's why I've sort of recommended that ESA Phase 2 is maybe too far of a step, that we don't need to go doing a drilling program and taking tons of samples. We just sort of need to identify what is sort of like a reasonable alignment for pipes, because we know that it's the extension of 21st Avenue through it, and then a creation of another back alley through it. But really, we can focus our efforts on those spots, and then maybe pick one basement here, one basement there, and see, is it a dump truck's worth? Is it a pickup truck's worth? And then that'll tell us sort of what quantity of money that might turn into in the bigger scheme. So it's more of a disclosure item for us, for anybody that we're going to try and sell land to develop, more than it is a contamination of something that would require the remediation of the top 8 inches or 10 inches or 2 feet. So that's a different problem, and I don't think we have that problem. But we will check to make sure we don't have that problem at the same time we dig to see what's going to be, slowing us down when we go to build the subdivision. Well, I use the word us, but hope that helps.
So there's the motion to sell the land. There's a process that our Director of Engineering Infrastructure is going to undertake. In the meantime, we can find out if a 20-year-old agreement can be gone back on if we find something that shouldn't be there. And I guess you could ask if we could have our money back too, the same question to the lawyer, I don't know. But I think it's more relative to what could be done 20 years later. And if it's just that debris, what is the impact and how will that impact our municipality? So does that catch it? It's just the motions that need to come out of that now. Deputy Mayor?
So if I understand this correct, the money that we set aside for Phase 2 environmental assessment, we maybe have to rescind that and use that money a little bit for what Public Works is wanting to do. So I think that's the first thing we have to do is pull that money back out of a phase two. A phase two is way more than what we need at this point. And we can reserve whatever's left over for whatever we find in the future. But I think we're trying to make a decision, we don't even know what we have. And until we allow Craig or his team to get in there and, as he calls it, the scratching, but actually trying to figure out what's there, we're trying to make decisions, and there's none to make other than what is it, and what does that look like, and then bring that back to us.
And Craig and Amanda then rescind that motion, make a new motion to undertake studies that are required on the land. Would that be acceptable? So we're not specific just to that study, we just say undertake the necessary studies on the land to bring back a report. Okay, so I think that's what we need then is rescind the motion number, Amanda, that you're probably looking for that right now. And then to make a new motion for the same amount to be allocated to undertake those necessary studies on the land for a report to come back. Craig?
I'm just gonna offer that 50 is probably too much money.
Yeah, okay. And
Like, we'll be able to do our work for under 5.
so we'll say 10 just because,
I like being under
so they don't come back again. Okay, so we'll rescind that motion, we'll make a new motion, and then we will amend Lee's motion to bring back an opinion from legal regarding what can be done about a 20-year-old agreement. And I'll let you word that, Councillor Moore. Like what information you're after in that agreement that we haven't seen, we don't know about. But go ahead.
I'm concerned because we're talking about disclosure. And what I heard from Craig was that the minister had certain requirements before Chinook Edge could offer it for sale to anyone. And definitely there would be a way to be able to get the sale agreement from when it was sold to see what those assurances or disclosures were that the minister required at Chinook Edge. And we heard from our former CAO that they did say that the land would be clean, and that was in the agreement. And so I'm not talking about going back to a 17-year-old agreement, but I am talking about when Brownlee says when we discover something that we didn't know was there. That's a whole new ballgame in the legal realm. And when we have to investigate to find out what that is on the land, and I understand we're putting through a 21st Street line that is going to dig down in there, and that's going to provide some knowledge of that. So some of these things are going to happen, but I think legal advice is a good thing because of these things, the former disclosure, what we're going to have to disclose, what's going to be done when we put the 21st Street through, how much we need to do to be able to sell it again. I'm not comfortable with selling something where we don't know. That's the worst thing you can do in a sale agreement is go, we don't know. You're going to pay for it. And so I would not want to see us go ahead with anything that resembles a sale until we know what we're selling. And that's all I have to say on that. Someone else can make a motion if they want.
Do either of you have a comment on that? We just heard Craig say that it would be okay to proceed. And now we're getting legal advice. Going to have Amanda and then Councillor Windsor, if you want to comment on that.
If you want to sell.
Well, I think you could do either. It depends on the process, the journey that you want to take, I think. if you want all the information ahead of time to be able to make, that might help you make a better decision about the sales price of the land and things like that. Or if you're okay with getting it along the way, it might just, there'd be a lot more kind of variables in an agreement if one went ahead. So those are kind of the two options, but, what I would recommend at this point, because there's kind of a lot of questions on this, if council would be okay with it, I'd rather speak to the lawyer regarding the process on what we can pursue, if anything, if there is debris in the ground, and then bring that back to next meeting. And that might be able to clarify to you whether to move ahead with the sale or wait until this assessment has been done.
Thank you for that. Councilor Wheeler?
Thank you, Mayor Hunter. I'm going to echo the Deputy Mayor and say that I think that we have to rescind, first of all, rescind this motion about the phase 2 environmental assessment, and then to create a motion that gives direction to administration to go ahead and do their scratching. If that's what we're going to call it.
Your studies.
Their studies. And as far as the other side of it, I think that in speaking to the developer here again, I'm going to say over the last couple of days, he indicated that depending on what we find in there, it's going to dictate what the price is going to be and what they're going to be willing to pay for it. And the numbers that he quoted were significantly different. And so I think that we kind of need to know where we are with regard to the scratching, the study, before we proceed with making a decision about what the price is going to be with real.
Yeah, but I think then what information is Amanda going to bring back? What questions are we asking?
The legal opinion, sorry.
I know, but what are the questions we're asking?
Well,
Would we like that back?
I think the question is, what is their responsibility? What is the what is in the document, and what is clean land? That's what we got to know. From legal opinion, is the document after 17 years valid, and what is the responsibility of the person or persons that sold the land to us with a claim that is clean if it's not? What is their responsibility?
And that's fine, we just want to identify the questions so then we can bring them back, the answers.
If any, I don't know. But
Is that adequate?
I believe so.
Okay, and then part of the discussion of committee of whole was to engage Chinook's Edge, but that will be at a later date once we have those legal answers. And that can be done at the time, so that motion can be made at the time the answers are back. So, we're good to go then? And we can have a motion, what's the motion number, Amanda?
It is 355-24.
Okay, so we need a motion to rescind motion number 355-24, and do we need to identify what the motion was about?
Yes, that'd be good.
So, can we just
Regarding the phase 2 environmental assessment, on 2134 22nd Street.
Okay, Jocelyn? Read that. So who's making the motion? Councilor Bassett?
I make a comment while we're waiting. Is that, from my experience, the property owner has to disclose any anomalies of the property to the realtor. And the realtor is obligated to pass that on to the buyer. Failing to do that is trouble. So I think we're going in the right direction to identify the anomalies of this particular property, making them open to the buyer, and that puts us in a good spot in that reference.
Mhm. So the motion, Jocelyn?
Thank you, through the chair. I'm going to put the original motion in this motion just for the minutes. Moved by Councillor Basquiat to rescind Resolution 355-24. Moved by Deputy Mayor Engel to approve a Phase 2 environmental site assessment to be conducted on 2134 22nd Street and approve a maximum amount of $50,000 to be funded from the Strategic Initiatives and Contingency Reserve.
Okay, so it's rescinding that entire motion, and Councillor Baswick, you're good with that?
Yes, ma'am.
I will call the vote then, all in favor? That's carried. And then we need a new motion to provide $10,000 to do the necessary studies on the high school land. What are you looking for? Just for the studies on the land? We don't have to say, because who knows what you're going to.
Getting pricing already.
Okay.
You okay?
They're less than 5,000. I think we're overstepping 10.
Really?
Because, you know, what is
Up to.
Up to 10,000. Yeah,
We won't spend 10 if we don't need to.
right.
So I will, thank you, Mayor Hunter. I will move that council approve the spending of up to $10,000 for the appropriate land studies required on 2234 22nd Street to be funded from the Strategic Initiatives Reserve.
Is that good?
21.
The high school land. Well, it's in here. Council worded it on. So you want to repeat that?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, good.
Moved by Councillor Windsor that council approve the spending of up to $10,000 for the appropriate land studies required on 2134 22nd Street, the old Didsbury High School lands, to be funded from the Strategic Initiatives and Contingency Reserve.
Great. All right, I will call the vote. All in favor? That's carried. And then we need that legal advice identified.
I'll make it, but I don't remember what I said. I think we move the council authorizes administration to seek legal advice regarding the land sale document
Agreement.
or agreement.
From, do we need a year there?
I don't know that
We only bought it once, so.
We've identified the address.
Yeah. With the address.
And then I'll have you read that back.
That's correct.
Use the word scraps.
Through the chair. Moved by Deputy Mayor Engel that council authorize administration to seek legal advice regarding the land sale documents pertaining to 2134 22nd Street, the old Didsbury High School lands.
Is that good, Amanda? That's what we need?
May I ask a question? Just wondering if that would cover their advice regarding the contamination or whatever it is as well, as it relates to that and the different times, because this is new now and that was old. So we can't do anything about that, but we should still know what it said, because it's still a contract. So,
I'm not following.
No, I
Anyway.
mean,
yeah, you'll get whatever advice you need from that motion, right? Okay. Good.
okay. Deputy Mayor, Okay, I'll call the vote. All in favor? That's carried. Okay, we got item 8.4. Vacant town properties for review. And there's motions there that we'll just remove the old high school line right now. Yes, sure.
Okay, I move the council direct administration to list for sale municipal land at 100 Chance Drive in accordance with sale, acquisition, and expropriation of land policy.
Any comments on that? You made the motion, so you get first chance.
No, sorry.
Councilor Windsor?
Hallelujah.
Councilor Basket?
Okay, so 100 Chance Drive, does that include these properties aren't in Chance? Like the old fire hall,
No. Just that, this picture, the top
Just this
one,
one,
am I on the wrong page?
page
I'll
50.
just
50.
carry on.
Okay. Councilor Moore, any questions?
No, thank you.
Okay, me either, so we'll call the vote on the list for sale municipal land at 100 Chance Drive in accordance with our policy. All in favor? That's carried.
And to publish a request for proposal and RFP for the retention of real estate agents to list the following properties for sale: 100 Chance Drive, 2109 19th Ave, Old Fire Hall parking lot; 2101 19th Avenue, Old Fire Hall; 2128 21st Avenue, and we'll remove that. We'll stop right there.
We can't call 21st Avenue the tree lot, right? Oh, well, I guess they can do the math like everybody else does. Okay, any discussion on that? Councilor Deputy Mayor? Councilor Windsor? Councilor Moore?
Just one small note on the final one, 2128 21st Avenue. Being that our assessments have gone up considerably, I would not be happy if it was listed at the previous price. Definitely, I think we'd be looking at a higher price on that. And it does say, it doesn't say, but I'm assuming that the realtor would come back with a market valuation.
Amanda?
Yeah, so regarding the price, your motion to list it for sale was a minimum of 115, so, and at any time, council would approve the sales price.
Thank you, that's good.
But before we get to that step, you will have, the realtor decision will come to council.
Thank you.
Okay, Councilor Bowser, do you have any comments on that? Okay, me either. I found my paper. There it is. To publish a RFP for the retention of real estate agents, I will call the vote. All in favor? That's carried. We have item 8.5, Financial Planning Committee recommendation, DOSCA year-end deficit, and the chairperson is Councilor Windsor.
Thank you, Mayor Hunter. Do you want the motions, or do you want to have, explain?
Well, do you have any highlights or
Well-
supplemental information to this?
It's not really supplemental, but we ran into a lot of difficulty in dealing with this simply because the program has run at a deficit for 2 years, and we don't see where they're going to be able to pay back the internal loans as it is now, and we need to do some more work on this particular concept instead of the project. But at the same time, we need to be able to allow the financial department to finish up the year end. And so what we're asking the council to do is to go ahead and approve the internal borrowing for the deficit in 2024, and then to refer it back to the planning committee so we can look at this whole thing a little bit further. And so So I will make the first motion
Okay.
to council approve the transfer of the DOSCA 2024 year-end deficit of $24,056.93 to internal borrowing.
Any comments, Deputy Mayor?
No.
Councilor Moore? Mr. Bradley? I don't either, so I'll call the vote. All in favor? That's carried. And
Thank you, Mayor Hunter. I'll move to that council refer the DOSCA internal loan repayment plan feasibility to the Financial Planning Committee for review and recommendation.
comments, Deputy Mayor? Councilor Baswick? Councilor Moore? Call the vote. All in favor? That's carried. We have the Policy and Governance Committee recommendations, Code of Conduct bylaw. Deputy Mayor, supplemental or highlights?
So yeah, we discussed this, I believe at the March 12th meeting, and it kind of come up with the realization that this term is almost over, and then a new council coming on has to review this at the beginning of their term, and they may want to change it or have it look more how they would like it, not how we want it. So we were recommending really to just leave it in place as it is, but possibly give them these, like we have these points here for discussion, and we may want to recommend that these are things they look at when they're deciding how their code of conduct will look.
Councilor Windsor?
Thank you, Mayor Hunter. Are we going to have the motion first from the chair, or do we want to continue?
Oh,
Discussion.
yes, let's carry on.
I'm not quite sure how to make the motion, but
I'm just wondering if I could, who's going to discuss that?
well, we were going to discuss if we want to send those recommendations to along with the policy, so that when they look at the policy, we've got these recommendations for them to look at. Are any of these in the new regulation as well, these
They're not out yet?
discussion points?
They're not out yet.
No.
It
So
hasn't been released.
it hasn't been released yet, so there's updates coming anyway. And so for us to spend a bunch of time redoing this and then they maybe have to redo it again, we thought we would just leave it. We can discuss these points that are here, and if we want any of them to go along with our motion, that we recommend that they review it, bring it up to current standards, and then as a council, we can say, you should maybe look at these things when you're reviewing it, but that's up to council.
Well, that's what I'm wondering, if it should just be accepted as information,
Yeah.
because the new regulations aren't out, and because there's going to be consultation and amendments to the legislation. And I just wanted to suggest too, I know I'm not supposed to speak first, but the new CAO will do this and will follow all the legislations. And so that's, there's other comments that can go around the table, but I would suggest it's this information.
Yeah, I was going to make the motion then, and then,
Are you going to make this information or?
yeah.
Okay.
So I would move that council accept the policy and governance committee recommendation of code of conduct bylaw as information.
Okay. Then speaking, Councilor Moore? Councilor Baswick?
Thank you, Mayor. And, I do, there's no point going on about the discussion on this because at the last convention, Minister McIver did indicate that we're going to have a new code of conduct process, which would go to the MGA, which we have to comply with. So, going for information, putting this in information is a good thing. We don't need to waste time on it. Thank you.
Councilor Windsor?
Thank you, Mayor Hunter. I'm not in favor of putting this off at all. I think that we just went through a mediation process where we had an expert come in and assist us and indicated that there was issues within the current code of conduct that should be addressed. I think we are better equipped now to deal with those kinds of things and set it up so that it operates the way it probably should operate based on what Mr. Sullivan provided as far as information is concerned. We don't have a timeline as to when the revisions are going to come out in the MGA. It could be 2 years, it could be 3 years, it could be 4 years down the road. And to leave this for the next council to have to struggle through this with potentially no experience whatsoever is to me a disservice to the next council. So I don't think this should be put off at all. I think we should call upon, there is a motion saying that we can call upon a third party to provide some direction and some assistance. That's an outstanding motion, and I think that it would make sense to move forward. Unfortunately, I wasn't at the meeting. I'm on the PCC committee, but I had to miss that meeting, and I would have spoken against it there, and I will speak against it here. I think that we need to do the best we can to hand this over to the next council as clean as we possibly can.
Okay. Well, I've heard that we can accept this information, and I just think there's a lot of factors in this, and one of them is that we start proceeding with this, and then all the new legislation comes out. That's what would, because what Minister McCarver also said, that he heard us, all municipalities that were talking about having an independent, integrity commission, and that's part of it. So then I think that would just flow down, and again, if we did work for the next council, and then everything changed and I heard that, I understood he was going to be doing that before the election as well, so I'm happy accepting it as information, and it doesn't mean it can't come back if the legislation isn't what we were thinking it was going to be. That's why I would vote just to accept this information, because I think we need to see what the minister says. And I think it's going to be good stuff that he's going to say, because he's currently has 6 municipalities with an administrator, so I think he wants to really be strong with this new legislation. So there's those comments. I will vote for information right now, and if something changes, I think it needs to get addressed then. We can bring it back when the legislation comes out as a discussion topic. So I will, can you say your motion again? Or maybe Jocelyn can, since she captured it.
Thank you, through the chair. Moved by Deputy Mayor Engel to accept the policy and governance recommendation on the Council Code of Conduct bylaw as information.
Okay. Okay, I'll call the vote. All in favor? Opposed? Okay, that's carried. Item 1.7, Policy and Governance Committee recommendations, strategic plan, policy, and reporting policy. Deputy Mayor, highlights or supplemental?
So I'll make the motion that council accept the recommendations from the Policy and Governance Committee on the reporting policy and strategic plan policy as information. The background on that is the committee discussed the different methods of reporting for the municipality and how reports are currently presented. Policy and Governance Committee considered the different methods in which a CAO and council prefer to present and accept reports on administrative activities. In consideration of these variable factors, the committee is recommending the reporting policy be deferred for creation until after the recruitment of the new CAO or following the 2025 general municipal election.
Anything else that was, well, that was good enough. Thank you. Councilor Baswick, Councilor Moore, Councilor Windsor.
Thank you, Mayor Hunter. I'm thinking, yeah, assuming this is information, one of the things that was discussed at some meeting I was at was the fact that these things should probably be within the CAO bylaw, within the employment agreement, and become part of the evaluation process that's undertaken on the CAO every year. And I'm not sure that that's what we're seeing here. I think that probably the CAO bylaw, as we have it right now, if we're going to go with a recruiting process, probably needs to be revised so that it is more explicit as to what is expected of the CAO. I'm not opposed to receiving this as information. It's part of a 501, I think the motion was 501-24. 24? And I think that there's a whole series of policies that were identified there to be developed that probably aren't necessarily relevant now. And so I'm willing to accept this as information, but I think that there has to be a different, I would like to see a different approach to this. And I think that we need to revisit that motion, that 501-24 motion, and maybe possibly even rescind it.
And I think maybe you can bring that motion back since that would be a discussion topic, but I just mentioned to our acting CEO that the CAO bylaw should be updated before we recruit a CAO. And all of this information is relative to what would be expected of a CAO, strategic plan, reporting, the, whatever we just dealt with, code of conduct. So I'd like to have a second motion to bring that back, because I think if we're recruiting and you're recruiting under the current bylaw, I don't know that that's wise of us with the bylaw the way it is. And just even bring it back for review because we are recruiting, and then we take a look at it and see if and what changes are needed. So if everybody would agree with that, I would have a motion made after this information item to bring back the CAO bylaw for review by council at this point in time, because you're recruiting and it's a good time to refresh and see what, if anything, we're missing in the recruitment. Because bringing the CAO in, you want him to have a current bylaw. So, any comments on that? Well, we can make a motion after we don't have the comments, but we have the information item. Councilor Windsor, you had something to say?
Well, thank you, Mayor Hunter. I'm just wondering if we accept this as information, does that move the reporting policy and strategic plan policy off of the 501 list of motions, of policies that's supposed to be brought forward? Does it just make them null and void then? And then they're disappeared, and we have to deal with the other 7 items on that list?
Well, I think we mentioned that we would, because the bylaw, the CAO bylaw would come back, we could put that in the bylaw to refer those 3 items to the bylaw review. And that's just for the review part of it, doesn't mean, but we won't lose them then.
Mm-hmm.
That would make sense to everybody. So just make that part of it. We accept his information, but then bring back the CAO bylaw, the number of it, and include these 3 items for consideration or for review in the bylaw. Okay, so have I had to read that back twice now? Because these discussions get long. Well, it's just the item as it is on here. Yeah, that's what you made, is this motion. Okay, so we'll accept the recommendations, PGC on reporting policy and strategic plan policy as information. I'll vote, all in favor? That's carried. And then, who would like to make the motion? What is the bylaw number, man? Mr. Windsor?
2018-204. So, Mayor Hunter, I will move that council refer the Chief Administrative Officer bylaw 2018-04 to the Policy and Governance Committee to return a review and recommendation to council.
Do we usually send it right to committee?
We can, we'll bring it back to council.
Yeah,
Okay, so-
decide if they
so
want to send it to committee. That's our process.
return that bylaw to council for review, period. Does that work?
You comments, Deputy Mayor?
No.
Councilor?
Yeah, the only comment I would make is, whether we make changes or not to it, I think under the process that we're under in recruiting, we should definitely look at it, absolutely. So I would be in favor.
Okay, and you don't want to bring those other items back with it?
I think
It doesn't matter, right?
I'm torn about whether to bring those back with it because they should be part of it anyway, and they probably, to some degree, they are already part of it.
Mhm.
They're just not to the same degree. So I think that maybe if we keep in mind the discussion on, here we go, pardon me, the discussion around the table, that it will come through with that. Is that an
Yeah,
acceptable?
that's fine. Councilor Moore, any comments? Councilor Gossett?
Well, thank you, Mayor. I'm just wondering, this shouldn't be massaged through the committee rather than wasting council's time discussing it. It should go to committee, they can do all the heavy lifting, then bring it to council, have a brief discussion, not a, 2-hour diatribe on it, so.
And I don't do that based on the timelines that we have. If we do make any changes to it, then it extends the process, we bring it back to council first, but I would ask for comment on that, because it's not our normal process, but if we want to deviate from that,
Again, I would be okay with that. It's a council directive, so if that's what council is wanting, then that would be our prerogative, and they could go directly to P&G.
okay? Good comment, so everybody's fine? Go ahead.
I think when we're talking about a bylaw that involves a contract with somebody that, a CAO in particular, it's a major contract, and I think rather than have a couple of people in a committee be massaging a contract, I think that's something that I realize you don't want to always go to legal, but somebody that understands and is a lawyer like Michael Salwan might be a good one to look at it to ensure that the things that are important to us are included in it, that it's updated with current law, which he would know as well, but who has the expertise to be able to create a legal contract that is appropriate in all the ways that only a lawyer would understand. I'm not an expert, nobody else on this council is, and I'm uncomfortable with us doing the CAO bylaw on our own.
We did the last one on our own, but that was with just a facilitator.
I think if required, the committee should bring in legal counsel to assist them with their work up on this thing.
Go ahead.
So Mayor Hunter, I'd be willing to amend my motion so that it does go, we do refer to the PGC, Policy and Governance Committee, and that the Policy and Governance Committee be authorized to engage a third-party expert if necessary.
Does that satisfy you?
Yeah.
Is that more satisfactory?
I suppose.
Okay. Okay, Jocelyn, the spotlight's on you.
Through the chair. Moved by Councilor Windsor to refer Chief Administrative Officer bylaw 2018-04 to the Policy and Governance Committee for review and recommendation back to council, and that the Policy and Governance Committee be authorized to engage with a third-party expert regarding the contents of the bylaw, if necessary.
Okay. 8.8, road bans. And anything to add to that, Craig? At this point? We have a motion then? Somewhere? Deputy Mayor?
Before I make my motion, I want to make a motion that this road ban goes to service level committee for review and recommendation. We haven't even looked at any of this. So I think that that's our proper place for it to go. So if you'll accept my motion, or if you want one from someone else, that's fine.
Well, I would just like a response from Craig for that, because I think it was timeliness is what this was here about, so that, just to hear that, if that's fact, Craig, and if not.
Yeah, this is in response to what we're seeing in the field right now, and making the step towards allowing administration to implement at the right time. We're probably 2 weeks behind, I think, at the moment, trying to get the signs up. So it was more of, if we're gonna make this year's thought, we need to get on it. If you want to send it to service level committee for grinding for next year, that is the product. So I have no problems with that. This is more of a measure to put in layers of protection. It doesn't solve anything, but it's a layer of protection. So if it doesn't go on this year, we haven't had them before, it's not going to be horrendous, and it wouldn't be problematic to go to service level committee to have the conversation. But if we were to want to have them applied this season, then
Okay. It could be a pilot, and then it could go to PGC for next year. I don't know, just because of the advice from our director. Go ahead, Councilor President.
Thank you, Mayor. Hearing that this hasn't happened before, are we seeing dramatic degradation of our roads that would demand that we move forward on these road bans at this point in time?
thank you for the question. So I'd probably have to go through the unique circumstances for each of the four. So if you want to bear with me, I can. 7th Avenue has been brought for this purpose because we plan to do some improvements to 7th Avenue. And to start this program now and give us permission to implement this program going forward will enable us to protect it during the fall right now. Won't cause any significant deterioration that we aren't already anticipating for our roadworks program. So we want to kind of like stop the breakage. So 7th Ave is in preparation for us to do the work, and then once the work is done, we want to protect the work. 23rd Street, we've already done the work, and although it's not up to the standard of an industrial corridor, it's not bad work, and this is more of a recommendation to protect its current situation and not have it deteriorate prior to getting awarded on the STIP grant and our partnership. Range Road 15, 10th Street North is rough for the acreages that are there. And in the spring and the fall, we punch potholes out all the time. And we're out there a fair bit at this time of year, trying to keep it in a reasonable state. On the south side on 10th Street, the county just finished doing a bunch of gravel last year on the part of the road that they have the user agreement to maintain that surface for. And then our side of that same road allowance hasn't had that work done to it, and so it's kind of like you go from a reasonable gravel surface to a not so reasonable muddy kind of surface. And so if we were to extend that in there, same sort of thing, it just applies the same protections for our portion that we haven't had the ability to do a lot of rework onto. And then 15th Avenue, it's just sort of, it's saddled by all these incomings and outgoings. So 2A is at 90, 582 is at 90%. And so you really shouldn't be on 15th Avenue without being restricted to some degree anyways. And so we were just going to coordinate with what the lowest common denominator of the road ban is, which is 90%. So it's not egregious. It's not like we're looking for 75% in town by any stretch, and that's not what we'd be aiming for. We build roads differently in municipalities. So we don't need to go, it's just more just making sure that someone's going from 280, taking 15th Avenue to get out to 7th Avenue or 312 or head south to Carstairs, that they're being in compliance with the load bands even through town. So that's sort of the nutshell reasonings for these 4 roads being brought at this time. It's unique each road, but they all have similar problems.
Supplementary, do the truck route signs not cover the direction of these heavy vehicles, that we don't have to have a ban as such, or you want to ban the truck route signs?
Yeah, maybe I should maybe clarify what a truck ban doesn't mean that we're banning trucks. We went through axle weights to be lower than they are legally allowed to carry when there's no restrictions. So the axle weights that they're allowed to have are governed by their gross vehicle weights. And so we're just asking them to run just a little bit lighter for a couple of months instead of beating on our roads as hard. So there's no ban per se. It's not like they're not able to use it. They're more than welcome to use the truck routes. That's the only place we like to see them, to be honest. We just want them to be running just a little bit lighter. And so that's hope that answers your question.
Thank you.
Councilor Moore?
The last time that we talked about something on 15th Avenue, I believe that the county, because the county shop is there, they had questions about their trucks and how that would impact them. Can you see that being an impact to the county use of what used to be a county road, being 15th Avenue, that they built, and that their trucks need to go in and out on, because that's where they're housed?
Yeah, that's a great question, because they are on 15th Ave and they do access our truck network through that corridor. Chances are they're heading into a county road that has a much more restrictive load band on it. Most of the county roads, if they're gravel, they're 75% right now. And it's really only the major transportation corridors, like 582 and 2A, where you get up into the 90% range. So they'll be running more than likely at legal weights anyways. So we actually wouldn't impact them per se, but I'm just going to go on to the alternative, which is they do have a problem with it, we can give them an exemption. So there are ways to work around it for individual cases that have reasonable case to be made.
If you're saying 90%, could we say that in the recommendation? Because you're saying that counties have 75%, that we would do 90%, but I don't see that stated.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I was asked to produce a map and I just didn't have time. But the reason for 15th Ave is because it is connected to 2A. It's connected to 19th Street, and then it's connected to 582. 582 and 2A are at 90%. So if we maintain 90 through our truck route in 15th Ave, we're not being any lower than what's allowed outside our community. And so we're allowing them to run as heavy as they can on the regular roads, which is just 90% of their total allowable load. And then on the other ones, the more gravel ones, we would match their 75%. We don't have big trucks heading down them anyways. And really the big one is the 23rd Street with the garbage trucks heading out to the dump. So because that's our road, they're coming off a 90% road band, heading onto our 23rd Street, which isn't a well-built corridor, and we have no load restrictions. So they're hitting us at 90 anyways. We would look to match the county's 75% on that 23rd Street. So it would be more about matching what the county is doing so that we aren't being more punitive. We're just trying to be in alignment with the local others. Does that help?
Deputy Mayor?
I don't know if I'm going to ask this question correctly, but if they're already road banned at 75 and at 90, and they're coming into our town, would they not just be at 75 already and 90?
We have a lot of loads that originate in town. And that is part and parcel to this request. is if they're loading in town and they're ripping through in town and dropping, like using 15th Ave or using 19th, you can also like to stay at night.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that, and thank you for clarifying the percentages in that. That wasn't clear in the RFD or what, and that was my concern with getting into the service level committee was to get that information out. So thank you for applying that or providing that.
Councillor Windsor, you spoke yet?
Not yet.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, thank you, Mayor. I'm quite comfortable with this. I would be willing to make the motion and move forward with this.
Go ahead, make the motion.
Okay, I'll move the council direct administration to enter into a rental and service agreement for the purpose of, pardon me, I'm on the wrong one. Right. Direct administration to implement seasonal road bans within town boundary as appropriate to align with Mountain View County Road Ban Program.
Okay, and so we have the motion now, and Councillor Basil had another comment?
Just very quick, the unintended consequences of waste removal vehicles or garbage pickup, is that going to reduce the service if they're restricted on what they can carry to the dump out of town?
They may have to make an extra trip or two a day, but I think it's well within their service level delivery flexibility to be able to accommodate that.
It's not going to affect us financially.
No, there'd be no recourse to come back on us for an extra collection value of X or Y. It's, our pickups are set in stone, so.
Okay. Thank you.
And Craig, is this going to be, it's a fall program too, or another season, or just this season?
We would follow it through for the spring, probably do a little evaluation and a little chit chat inside. It might depend on some STIP grant changes, a little on end, maybe a developer's gonna change a couple of things. So there's a lot of things in the air about how rigid we need to be going into the fall. But with a motion like this, it would be in the event that we deem it necessary, then we could follow through on that. And that's kind of what we're hoping for, is it's not so much a hard and fast rule, because we will have various things moving that will change the form. So 23rd Street might not be on here in the fall, it might be here in the spring, it might not be on here next year. Same with 15th going north, and 15 going north. We're hoping to have that road in works in the next little while, so that's part of some of the variables that'll change, and so we're looking for some more of a flexibility of being able to apply road bans as it's deemed necessary, and hopefully have that confidence that we can make that decision.
Okay, and just part of that is it could come back to the service level after the spring season. If,
We'd have to just put it in and temporarily bring it back.
yeah, like, once all the numbers are in, we can send it to the service level committee. But you could bring that back on what happened in the spring, and then we could send it to service level to help review if you're still, and that was your comment, so I don't know that you still care about that or want to pursue that, but
Yeah, obviously I would like to see the results of it, and maybe, you know, a temporary one is what we put in tonight, to try it in spring, get our results, and then send it to the committee and make the final decision whether it's just something we'll do moving forward. Road bans like that are not inherently wrong. You do save the roads, that's why they get put in, so people would get used to it, but it's, you know, as long as we're not impeding people from traveling, and it sounds like the majority of the traffic anyway is going to be at that reduction to get on the 2A or the 582 because they are banned. We're not asking them to do anything different. They're not going to, other than you say somebody hauling in town, they're not going to overload and then dump something to get onto those roads. They're going to go out there, so I don't think it's impeding that much. but maybe we should see what it looks like.
Well, that's why if we change seasonal to spring and then have that brought back, if that makes sense for Craig, that the seasonal word just becomes spring road bands, and then report back to council on that program. Who made that motion?
I did.
So you okay with spring?
Mayor Hunter, I'm not sure we want it to come back every year, but
No.
I would like to see if this is going to be a pilot project, maybe we do it for the spring of 2025 and request a report to come back.
Yes.
Uh,
Yeah, I don't want it back every year.
Yeah, I don't want it back every year.
Well,
Once we
well-
have this in place, we need to just let it be and
Mhm.
let administration do the work. So I'm willing to make it, implement spring 2025 road bans within town boundaries appropriate to align with Mountain View County Road Ban Program and bring back a report following the spring thaw.
Craig, that sounds right? Okay. Just want to read that one more time.
Thank you. Moved by Councilor Windsor to direct administration to implement spring 2025 road bans within the town boundary as appropriate to align with the Mountain View County Road Ban Program and bring a report back to council following the cessation of the bans after spring.
Okay. Now we'll call the vote. All in favor? That's carried. Item 8.9, request for rental of aerial apparatus. Councilor Bellick? Sure.
I move to direct administration to enter into a rental and service agreement for the purposes of providing a fully staffed aerial apparatus for the 2025 G7 Summit in Kananaskis.
Any comments on that?
Yes, ma'am. I'm just wondering, the dates here, so they're already bought a new aerial, which is gonna come in May. The G7 is at the end of May. 2 weeks later, the summit starts. I guess what I'm getting at, isn't it, could we get approval to extend the use of their current system in the interim without us having to fork out any money? And I'm sure that someone could lighten up on the termination of the old unit as they do, that shiny stuff, but this one's probably still capable of functioning for a 2-week period on standby, without us having to pony up money. That would be my position to see if somebody in their wisdom can extend the life of this particular thing for 2 weeks, which would be more what I would look forward to. Thank you.
Do you have an answer for that, Amanda?
I do want to clarify, so what is taking place is that the Kananaskis Emergency Services Department is in the process of getting a new aerial, and their old one is not considered fit for service. That was their decision. So they just called Didsbury to see if we could provide ours in the event their new one does not arrive on time. Does that clarify that for you at all? So we're not spending any money. In fact, if we were to enter into this agreement and then be called upon to attend because they haven't got their new unit, then the town of Didsbury would we would make money on this agreement.
We make money.
Make money.
Okay.
Councilor Moore, thanks, Amanda.
No.
Okay.
Councilor Windsor?
Thank you, Mayor Hunter. I have a bunch of questions about this. I don't know what the rental amount is. I don't know what the rental agreement is going to say. I am concerned about the number of fire personnel we'd be sending. I don't know who's paying for the fire personnel. I wonder about the insurance and the security that's going to be involved in the G7 summit and what's involved in that. I'm concerned that maybe we haven't even talked to our mutual aid partners yet. At least it is indicated that it has been talked to and found out. And I guess the bottom line for me is the service level. If we didn't need this thing, if we can be spared this thing and take the risk of not having it in our community, then why do we have it in the first place? So, to sum that up, I'm not in favor of this.
Okay. When I first read it, I guess where is the rate and fee structure? I think we need a policy, rate and fee structure, if we're gonna start renting out our equipment, our safety equipment, and any equipment, a rate and fee structure would certainly, and a policy on what equipment does go out and how and why and when. It's a tough decision because I think our equipment is for our municipal and regional safety. And I have trouble sending it out. It would be a great experience, no doubt, at the G7, but it's the safety of my community that I'm tasked with looking after. So that's where I struggle with it. And I think it would be easier going forward if we create a policy on this sort of thing. And it comes back to when AHS used our fire hall, and the council had no idea what the rental rate was at the time. So I think we need to understand the rental rates and the agreements, because it is municipal property and it is council purview. And with that, I can't, my tough decision is that our equipment is for our municipal safety, and that's our job to make sure that we do that, or that's what I feel that my job is. And sending firefighters, and even if we have mutual aid, it could mitigate the situation. It does not necessarily, or the risk, but it doesn't necessarily will mitigate the risk. So I just don't know what to do personally, because I think we need a policy on this. I think when we rent out safety equipment and safety apparatus, and I agree with Councillor Bassett, like, okay, it's good until that day, but it's not good 2 weeks later, their own aerial truck. Like, I don't understand those philosophies of the safety industry, and so I don't know what I'll do for my vote. I just want to see a policy on this, and a rate fee structure schedule, and agreements for such things. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. There's one other thing that I don't think has been considered, is that this is a very tight meeting, this G7, that they're going to. Whoever we send there is going to have to be vetted in a security level. That's another issue that we may have to pay for if they're going to go to that training or go through that process. And with reference to the aerial, if, as Councillor Windsor said, if we don't need the unit here, and we could spare the unit, why do we have it? There's no point having an aerial if we don't need an aerial, and if we can spare it. And I agree with you. I don't want it to sound selfish that we're going to not help anybody, but we do have to consider our own home first, always. And then if there's any excess equipment or whatever that we can release, that's fine, or even personnel. But I think the security thing is going to be an issue. They'll have to be cleared by all these countries that are coming to Canada. So that's just one other thing. Thanks.
Guess my first question would be, G7 is federal government, right? So I think the federal government could override the 2-week rule on the fire engine. I agree with all of the things that have been raised here about us being out firemen. And it's not about being selfish, it's about awareness. And we have always stepped up when there's been wildfires and fires up north. We've sent resources and men out there and women. I should say firefighters. So the G7 summit is something that these world leaders put together, and I think that when there's a ladder truck or whatever it is sitting up there, and it's 2 weeks past its date, they should certainly be able to overlook that. I'm sure it's been inspected and engineering's been done, and non-destructive testing, whatever they have to go through. So, yeah, I would not be in favor of shipping our equipment and people out either to that function.
Okay. And I'd like a second, I mean, we'll vote on this motion, but the second motion would be to create a policy for this sort of thing. I think municipal, like the rate of fee structure for any municipal equipment, any municipal buildings, AHS situation again. They don't seem to be one-offs anymore. People want to use things, but I think policy would get the policy governance committee in. Safety is our job, so maybe that would be part of the, that we don't consider those requests. And that'd be based on, that's the policy, we bring it back to council first and then send it to policy and governance, and I know we're just always creating more policies, but that's because one of these situations keep coming up. And we have a clear guideline as to what we do. It's either yes or no or mitigating circumstance. So the motion is to direct administration to enter into a rental and service agreement. And I've heard around the table comments, so I will call the vote unless there's further. All in favor? Oh, go ahead, Amanda.
Thank you. I just wanted to address a couple of questions. One is with regards to the rates and fees. So, and as you know, we currently are paid for use of our vehicle by Alberta Transportation. And they set the rates for those vehicles. So we would either, because we don't specify in our bylaw other than those rates, we would use the Alberta Transportation rates for the use of the aerial, which is $720 an hour, but that includes the crew. So the crew would be paid in attendance by us, but we would be offset by the revenue brought in for the vehicle and the crew. Alternatively, we could use the wildland urban interface rates, and those are set out at $520 an hour plus $50 an hour per crew member. And they're asking for a crew of 4 to man the vehicle. It has been confirmed with Carstairs already that the aerial is not scheduled for any maintenance during that time, so they have discussed with at least our Carstairs mutual aid partner that they're available to attend any calls that were to come up in the Didsbury area. This is not something I would recommend for a long period of time because it's short in nature. That is the only reason that it is brought forward to you. And I thought I had one more thought, but it's slipping my mind. Security clearance. Yes, it is an intensive process, so that's why we brought this to you as quickly as possible upon request, because the 4 members attending would have to go through a security clearance, and we actually have asked Canon Askis how are you going to ensure their safety while they would be there. So that is a question that we have for them. If they couldn't kind of give us the ability to do that, we wouldn't be entering into the agreement. I think that covers most of that. Oh, fine, the crew of 4 would be a mix, so it wouldn't just be all of our highest members, because we want to ensure that we have our crew, our team here that can still respond. So it would be a mix of firefighters, officers, different levels of our members.
And I want to apologize, I did mean to go to you
That's okay.
to speak, because you should. Deputy Mayor?
Well, now you're just raising more questions. $750 an hour sounds like a lot of money for 4 people. I don't know if anyone's ever checked the rates out for staying in Kananaskis, because it's probably $450 a night per person. Who would be responsible for their meals and lodging and any incidentals? Like there's 3 meals a day times 4 people, there's rooms, and this is for 2 weeks. So has that all been calculated in? Are we losing money on this deal in any way, shape, or form?
As far as board, so they do have a fire hall with sleeping quarters, so they would be staying there, so not in a hotel. And however, we haven't even started a negotiation on this. We want council's approval first, so we don't know at this time would be responsible for meals. That'd be part of figuring that out. And so, yeah, would be more questions. If you wanted us to engage in this further, then we get all of those questions answered.
So the motion is to engage with them, not to actually enter into an agreement with them.
No.
Well, that's not how it's written, but
Yeah, but is that something that we could do? Because that may help with the decision making, is if we get all that information back. I understand that mutual aid would help us out, and that's why we have it, is for things like that. But maybe the motion should be more that we authorize you to engage in negotiating with them and then see what it
and
and bring it back.
Mr. Bowser?
Thank you, Mayor. I think all this is going to be a wasted effort if we can extend the life of this existing vehicle that they have. This would eliminate this whole thing. And once we have that question asked, then we can move forward with whatever support that we decide to do. But for the short run, if the feds can say, look, we'll give them an extension on this aerial, that's easy. That's the easiest way out. First step from my point of view.
Councilor Windsor?
Thank you, Mayor Hunter. So I'm wondering if they have mutual aid agreements with their partner neighbors as well. And so if there's no aerial available through their mutual aid agreements, and if they do have mutual aid agreements and they need an aerial, are they going to be during that window, or are they going to be using ours? And so I'm still opposed to this. I think that we need to not take the risk of giving out our safety equipment. Even at $720 an hour, I don't think it's a service to our community.
Yeah, I don't replace safety with money. I guess that's my issue. It's a tough decision, I know. I'm struggling with it, but I have to prioritize the community, and that would be my vote. I think you can certainly change your motion to engage, and then there will be a vote on us, or you can change it to pursue.
I didn't make a motion.
Right. Councilor Baswick. Or pursue Councilor Baswick's idea. But I think I would hope that Kananaskis Fire Department would have already looked into that. I hope they did. We can't direct them to, but I I don't think they listen to us. Give it a try. So you have a motion on the table, unless you want to amend it to engage. Do you want to amend it to engage and bring back information? Or do you want to let it stand to enter into the rental and service agreement? A rental and service agreement.
I think let it stand. I think administration understands my request. Unless I need to make the request to engage with the federal government to extend license term of this particular piece of equipment to avoid all this. That would be my direct direction. But I don't know if you want to do that or if you want to go with this and then decline.
Well, you just mentioned that I don't think we can direct Kananaskis Fire Department to do something.
Yes. But as the Deputy Mayor said, the federal people control that regulation. So they've got to get their permission from the fire services to give an extension to that particular piece of equipment. So this can, the motion can stand like it is, and we can just decline it. That's what I'm going to do. So, thank you.
And the motion stands in, and I just want to extend to our firefighters that we really appreciate their work here for our community. And that's why I'm voting for our community. So call the vote then on the administration entering into a rental and service agreement for the purposes of the G7 Summit. Call the vote, all in favor? Opposed? That's defeated. Now, about pursuing a policy on this, it certainly make these discussions easier. And I know there's a lot of work on your plate right now, and directly to bring a policy back would be, I don't think we need it this term. Maybe it's something to keep in mind, I don't know. Let's think about that, and then maybe we can add that to the next, maybe just make that to the next agenda, a discussion on policy about rental of our town facilities, property, equipment. That's, not captured in anything else, like our facilities. So, would someone make that motion? Just to bring back the discussion on the interest in that? Or I could just ask if there is interest in such a policy. Are you interested in such a policy that would make these conversations easier?
Sure.
Councillor Moore?
Where we have others, like the Alberta Transportation numbers, I don't see the benefit of setting our own when they upgrade theirs for inflation and things like that. If there isn't some place to go, that would be a logical place to set a price for equipment, then I think we could make our own. But where the system already is in place, I don't see why we duplicate it.
Yeah, it wouldn't be a policy for that, it would be a policy as to whether or not we rent out our safety equipment, fire services equipment. Would you be interested in that?
Not at this time in our term, I think.
Okay.
A new council coming in to something again, and it's kind of like writing budgets for them.
Yeah, that's
There
fine.
may be 7 people that get on here that are absolutely in favor of it, and
No is good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
no,
Okay. And Councillor Windsor? And if there's not a take, that's fine.
Thank you, Mayor Hunter. I think it would be helpful. I don't doubt that it would be helpful. I'm just not sure if it should be us doing it.
Yeah, that's fair.
I think that it would maybe involve more than just whether we rent it out or not. I think maybe it's taking, what would be the criteria that would qualify a piece of equipment to be taking out of service?
Yes or no?
For the, no.
Okay, let's carry on with the setting up committee of the whole meeting. And I think Amanda wants to speak to this first.
Oh, sure. Thank you, Mayor. I just, a thought came to me prior to this meeting that I would actually ask you to rescind the previous motion, which set the meeting for today at 4:30, because that was a conflict, given that NPC was in the space at that time. and then to set the next date. That way, anyone went back through the resolutions, they could see a clear path.
Councilor Moore?
Could I have the resolution number? I'll just leave space for that. I would move that council rescind resolution, whatever Amanda says, saying that we're having this committee of the whole meeting with urban systems today. That would be the first motion.
So that was resolution 160-25.
Okay. Call the vote on rescinding that motion. Sure. Try to move this along. What would you, go
Sure,
ahead.
thank you, Mayor. But I think it needs to have a conversation because council, in our council chambers, has to take precedence over everything. That this is our chambers. This isn't the MPC's chambers. This isn't the PCGC's chambers. This is council chambers. And so if we need our chambers, we have our chambers. And I think it needs to have a conversation about that. And that maybe MPC could have moved somewhere else. I don't know that they have to be in this particular room. Maybe they need to reschedule it to a different date, but council, this is our chambers, not anybody else's. And so I think that it's bigger than just rescinding this motion. I think that this is our chambers. And if we needed, even if it was a special council meeting and something else was scheduled here, if we have a special council meeting, we take over our chambers.
Okay. Deputy Mayor?
I don't know what to say.
I think it worked.
I agree. I think this one in particular was an oddity because council actually moved their council meeting from Tuesday, and we normally would have had our special, our committee of the whole meeting prior to council. That's what we were trying to do. So I think this was sort of slipped through the cracks. But I think obviously this is council chambers and be it this council, the next council, previous council, that should take precedence.
Thank you. Councilor Moore? Councilor Baswick?
From my point of view, I would like to have committee in the whole on the same day, other than the same day as the council meeting. That just, from 4:30 till 9, 10 o'clock is just nothing. You know, you go into yawn mode after about 4 hours, you know, and you can't do it. So I vote against this. I want it either on the 9th or some other day, but not the same day as council.
Okay, we're rescinding the motion, but that's fair. I know we've had this conversation before about council chambers with these people at the table, and that council does take precedence in our chambers, so I think it's certainly something to keep in mind. It's brought up when we're rescinding a motion, but let's capture that somewhere. And I don't know where, but Amanda, you go ahead if you have something to say.
Just that I take full responsibility for that oversight in setting the last meeting.
No, we're not pointing fingers.
No.
It's okay. It's a learning experience for us all.
That's all.
Thank you. I don't blame you then.
Can't blame you.
Okay. All right, so we have a motion to rescind that motion, number 160-25, right?
Correct.
Good memory. All in favor? Okay, now we can move on to the item to set the committee of the whole meeting for April 8th at 4:30. Sure.
I move that council set a committee of the whole meeting for April 8th, 2025 at 4:30 p.m. I agree it's a long day, but I'll still vote for it.
Yeah, we've kind of gone around with when they should be. Go ahead. I know what you're going to say.
I don't, do I have to speak louder? I don't like it. It's just too long. It doesn't it doesn't work, does it? Yeah. Because a lot of the stuff we're doing at council is pretty important. You have to have a clear head doing it. You can't go 8-9 hours into it. It's just not, no, sorry. I won't be there if that happens.
Councilor Windsor?
Thank you, Mayor Hunter. I'm going to echo Councilor Basler, and I vote against this motion. But I do want to have the presentation, but I just think I would like to have it some other time when we're not restricted to time.
Deputy Mayor?
I'm going to agree with Councilor Boswick and Councilor Windsor. The problem I have is at 4:30 till 10, we don't get to eat. We get one bathroom break. Like it's a long time, and I would rather see it on an opposing night. I know it's more inconvenient for staff and that, but it's just we don't get out of these things at 5:30 so that you can take some food in or anything. Typically, I haven't eaten since lunch, and by 10 o'clock at night, I agree with that it's too long of a day.
Well, you started something, Councilor Bowser, didn't you? And, you know, we've gone around and around with this, and this is why we landed on the time before council, and now, if our minds have changed on that, then I would suggest that we select another day.
I would withdraw my motion if that's all right. And
Thank
then we'll decide on something or other that I can move.
Can administration find some dates and just send out a survey?
Yes.
Okay, so make that motion to direct administration to find some dates, date options, and send out a survey to council.
I move that council direct administration to provide alternative dates for a committee of the whole meeting, and I guess we can't do anything and set it for, can they set it or does it come back again? Or and bring possibilities back to council?
What did she say, Jocelyn? I know what you said, I should just catch an error here.
Thank you. Through the chair, moved by Councilor Moore to direct administration to bring back alternative dates for a committee of the whole meeting to hear the presentation on the housing needs assessment and bring options back to council.
Okay. Call the vote. All in favor? That's carried. Now we have the municipal inspection, 8.11, municipal inspection, additional information. And what this session is for is just to ask questions on what information is in front of you, because there is a closed meeting item as well. So, the motion would be to refer this to the closed meeting item. Yet, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Hunter. I will move that the information provided in this item of the agenda be referred to the closed item 12.1.
Okay, do you have any comments on that based on what is in the RFP?
No, thank you, Mayor Hunter. I think that the discussion that has to take place around this needs to be in a closed session.
Deputy Mayor?
Yeah, I agree. I'm fine with it. When it's closed.
Councilor Moore?
That's fine.
Councilor Boswick? Okay. So the information is here for public consumption and council consumption, and then we have the motion to refer it into the closed meeting item. All right. I'll call the vote. All in favor? That's carried. Okay, we have council reports and meeting highlights. We'll start with Councilor Moore. And meeting highlight first.
Passing the operating budget
Yeah, oh darn, I should have.
since October 30th.
Okay. We're very thoughtful people, thoughtful consideration. And your report?
Yes, March 12th, Municipal Planning Commission and Policy and Governance meeting. March 21st, I attended the Miki Town Welcome Dinner, and March 25th, the Sayonara Barbecue. It's been 20 years since the first group of middle school aged children came to Disbury from Japan in 2005. COVID interrupted the student exchange program for the last 6 years, and this year Joanne, the interpreter who came with the first group, was back again for the first time in 11 years. The Overwaters graciously provided delicious welcome and sayonara dinners. Thank you all participants for the amazing memories you made for others and been part of. March 26th today, Municipal Planning Commission. Tomorrow is Mountain View Seniors Housing.
Thank you. Councilor Baswick, council highlight first.
Highlight would be, our award-winning peace officer.
Yeah,
I think that is really right.
great.
Got the right guy in the right place, and he really likes to be here. That's important to us. And he's really, what we call it, he just supports the community. He's out there, friendly guy doing his thing.
Thank you. Do you have a report?
My reports were a written man, and they are,
In the agenda package.
I'm sorry,
They're in the agenda package.
yes.
Okay, thank you. Deputy Mayor, highlight.
The highlight was not reading John's report. That was long and arduous. So I have to pick something different. I would go with the food allowance policy. I think that's a very nice, I'm going to call it a perk, that's probably the wrong term, but for the staff that works hard for the town of Didsbury, and it's kind of a nice thank you, and it takes a little bit of financial burden off of them just coming to do their daily work. So the food policy would be my highlight. And I had a very quiet week in council, in that just on March 12th was policy and governance. And we had the motions come forward tonight, so that would be my report.
Thank you. Councilor Windsor.
Thank you, Mayor Hunter. My highlight would be the CAO report, except that Councilor Basler took part of it. So we'll go somewhere else to the vacant properties listed for sale now. That we've been working on those for a long time. It's very nice to see.
Yeah.
As far as my report is concerned, I have been rather active here over the weekend with the Niki Town Exchange, Niki Cho Exchange. And I think some thanks needs to go to some individuals that worked very hard to put that together for the community, for the Westland School. Anisha was integral in that. Luana Smith and Joanne, I apologize, Kozai, and the work that she has done through this whole thing. We had 3 students and a chaperone stay with us, and it was a profoundly enjoyable experience. And I would, for anybody who's listening in the audience and out in the residents, if you have a chance to do this, I would urge you to do it. It's an incredible experience. The rest of my report is going to be delayed.
Could be what?
Delayed.
Oh. So
Thank
you
you.
did. Okay, thank you. I just want to point out that Amanda has been the acting CEO for a month, and I wanted to thank her for all her hard work. And I know it's been a real whirlwind of activity for the last month, so thank you for everything you've done and are doing, and your team that works with you so well. So that's my highlight. That's
No cake?
well, not yet. I was thinking about that. Amanda doesn't like cake.
Yes, she does.
But if you ever want to buy her coffee, it's medium, 2 cream and half sugar, 1 sugar. Two green ones are.
What's your-
Anyway, and my report's written in the agenda package as well, and I will give a more thorough report at our next meeting, because I was also at our May convention last week. So, having said that, we'll just have a motion to accept council reports as information. Deputy Mayor?
I move the council accept council reports as information.
All vote, all in favor? That's carried. Correspondence and information from the letter Minister of Municipal Affairs, Provincial Parties Act, Minister of Municipal Affairs and Attachments, Education Property Tax, and from Mayor Brown of Brampton, Ontario for Strong Canada. Go ahead.
I move that council accept the letters as information, or correspondence.
Okay, any comments? Councilor Windsor, Councilor Baswick, Councilor Moore. Amanda brought up some really good points about how this Provincial Priorities Act is going to impact our grant receipts. You know, we have a few, well, the tree canopy grant's been applied for, and that, you know, when we get that word, that's a federal grant, so it'll be interesting to see us go through that for the first time. Anyway, we have the motion to accept this information. I'll call a vote. All in favor? That's carried. And we have time for our esteemed guests in a question period format.
I do have something today.
Oh, nice. Well, that's good, Phil.
I'm going to stand. I'm just going to be loud.
Oh, can you put the link?
It has nothing to do with the agenda. I want to say thank you. I know that, you guys are coming to the end of your guys' terms, and who knows what's going to happen in the future with any and all of you guys. But I want to say, as a resident from out there, thank you for what you guys do every day here, and every time you guys are here. I find it extremely interesting, the process that you guys go through. I watch other councils go through process too. I think you guys and what you guys do is extremely unique. I like the back and forth. I like the conversation. I like the in-depth. I like it. I like every part of it. I think what you guys bring to this, what you guys do here, and what you bring to our community is amazing. And so thank you for all those years of service. And administration, I know that you guys roll through some crappy stuff, and it's a battle every day. I know when I'm making my decisions in my life, I'm using a lot of what I learned from you guys in making those decisions in my life too. So thank you for what you guys do. It's an amazing thing. Thank you, everybody, for what you do.
Thank you.
Thank you, Phil. And thank you for being here to listen to us all the time. We miss you when you're not here, you know.
I'm always here. If I'm not here, I'm listening.
In spirit. And those are very kind words. We appreciate that. Yeah. Norman is on his way up to the speaker's desk. Somebody called it a white desk today. We get a tag on the front that says speaker's desk.
Norm Quantz, just a quick question or request. On the agendas, when we get the agendas for the council, I would really like to see the numbers like 4.1, 4.2 at the top of each of those pages, other than having to have an agenda beside you and go through it. We do that in MPC, and I like it that way. I would rate, just to suggest it, probably should just talk to, it's where?
No, I put it on.
You had to write it on?
Wait, no, what you're saying.
Save him the
I
writing.
agree with you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for that suggestion, Norm. I'm sure it's an easy fix. I have thought that too. I just referred to my agenda, so I would agree with that, and I think that's pretty easy to get done.
Thanks, Norm.
All right, so we'll have a motion at 8:35 p.m. to go to closed meeting. Councilor Baswick, all in favor? That's carried. 2 minutes as usual.
Norm?
Item 12.1, municipal inspection letter, and actually there are 3 motions, because I want to pursue the procedural bylaw, coming up to date with notice of motions. So, first, Councillor Windsor, on the municipal inspection letter.
Thank you, Mayor Hunter. I'll move that council rescind resolution 130-25, the request for municipal affairs to conduct an internal inspection.
Municipal inspection.
Municipal, what did I say? Municipal inspection.
Any comments? Okay, call the vote, all in favor? Opposed? It's carried.
Carried or?
Yeah.
I voted to rescind.
Okay, so it should be.
No, carried.
Carried.
Sorry.
Deputy Mayor, do you have a motion?
I move the council commits to review current governance practices, roles, and responsibilities internally.
Any comments? Call the vote, all in favor? That's carried. And then I would like to make a motion to bring back the procedural bylaw, I think it's 2024-11, to review the notice of motion section in the procedural bylaw. Call the vote, all in favor? Opposed? It's defeated. Councilor Moore, Special Purpose Committee accountability completion as per terms of reference.
I move that council formally request the complete and thorough records regarding the Special Purpose Committee from the committee and from the lawyer as per SBC terms of reference, as well as the detailed itemized legal bill, and that council's designated contact with Shores Jardine LLP, the SPC member, Deputy Mayor Engel.
Comments?
No.
And I'll be voting against that because I don't want the information. Those that do can certainly vote for it, of course. Call the vote, all in favor? Opposed? That is carried. And we have a motion to adjourn at 9:31. Did you make that motion?
Yeah, sure.
Deputy Mayor, all in favor?